Drop it on the random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about history, the nostalgia, and more importantly, the preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now Podcast. As always, with me, the partner in crime, the homie Tony of IntoTheDome.com. What's good, man?
Hey man, another day in the life, man. Ginger and cayenne again, my brother.
Oh wow, yeah, man. I've been taking a lot of vitamins, chilling, just a lot of water, man. A lot of water.
No doubt.
Water can be very disgusting if you drink too much of it. Like after a while, you just like, I know it's good for me, but damn, I don't want it anymore. Like,
right.
But it's better than soda, so hey, whatever. But Joe, if you returning listeners or viewers, appreciate you coming through. Same thing if you are new, you know what I'm saying? We've been doing a couple of these, and if you like what you see here, the best thing to do is to subscribe. Therefore, you are locked in. You can always catch the latest episode of this show along with other content. And also, maybe you watch the video and you love it, but you don't get to watch it as much. Look into podcasts, man. This same podcast is available in audio form. All you got to do is go wherever you listen to podcasts. Doesn't matter if it's iTunes or Spotify or whatever the case, and search Hip Hop Now podcast. Once you find that podcast, within the same stream of the Hip Hop Now podcast is That Time in Hip Hop. So you stay locked in, you keep the conversation going, and obviously we got another dope show for you today. Before we get into that thing called This Week in Hip Hop and This Week in Hip Hop, on March 12th, 1993, the Chris Rock-led movie CB4 came out. Now, that was big. If you've never heard of it before, because there are some people who've never heard of it, it's a movie about fake gangster rappers, basically. They basically want to be rappers, and they feel like the only way they can be respected is to steal the image of actual gangsters and create music around it. Why? Because originally it wasn't working when they were doing the whole, Black Power movement, because, the hip hop game changed. So they got the Scullies, they got Jerry Curl, and they're basically playing a role of these gangsters, and it's all crazy and wacky. Tone, when this movie dropped, did you go see it? What did you think about it? What did you think about the statement of, these rappers basically faking their image in order to be popular, which sounds very familiar?
Very familiar, actually.
Yeah,
you know what, man, Ben, hip hop heads such as you and I went to see it, because during that time in the early 90s, you had a lot of hip hop based type of movies, like, you had Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society and New Jack City and all of this stuff like that. So I went to see it because Chris Rock and a lot of people in the movie. So but okay, first thing, I didn't like the movie. I didn't think it was that funny personally, but I did get the gist of it. Like, it was mocking fake gangster rap, and a lot of rappers who didn't live a certain lifestyle, they did emulate people they heard about, maybe people they saw in their own community growing up, and they kind of took little bits and pieces of the real hustlers and made this persona and things of that nature. Or they got it from watching The Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, Bronx Tale, whatever. Or they got it from watching Boys in Society. You know what I mean? So, rappers, a lot of rappers, of course, they are actors, and so they do get it from somewhere, inspiration. And CB4 was a good, I guess, if you're looking at it as far as like what it meant, it showed you what people really did in desperation to become rap stars. I think Chris Rock and Brute, they took the persona of the guy with MC Gusto or something like that, and I think he got locked up and they took the persona and they rolled with it. You know what I'm saying? And and looking with the Jerry curls and stuff like that, you could say it was kind of making a marker of NWA, even though I believe Eazy-E had a little cameo, and I think Ice-T and Ice Cube had a cameo, and Shaq and a couple other people had little cameos and stuff, which made it kind of cool and funny, and people making fun of themselves because some people played themselves in the movie, but for their little cameo. But yeah, it really was a real depiction, man. I mean, even though the movie was kind of corny and whatnot, but it proved its point in terms of, yes, artists do that. And the funny thing is, a lot of younger fans now, some of them take artists to heart. Like, you see an artist rapping about something and you think that's really what they are. That's Pablo Escobar. No, it's just a guy that might have sold a little weed or something and he rapping, he's embellishing. Yeah. And, CB4 gave you that visual, man. But, but for what it's worth, it's cool, man. It is that time hip hop because it was about hip hop.
Yeah, and then it was 1993, and they just greenlit a lot of weird movies back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this would have I don't even know if this would have been on Netflix, to be honest.
Oh my goodness.
If it came out today. Me, when I first saw this movie, not watching the movie, but like a trailer or whatever, I didn't go see it. I didn't see this in the movies. I didn't see it until it was out for some time, because I was somewhat offended by the satire, even though it was rappers and all that. Because I was feeling like, well, like, who cares if they aren't real gangsters, and then why are they trying to make them look goofy and blah blah blah? And I was real sore, like a hip hop fan or whatever, as a hip hop fan, based off of movies like that, because of movies that we had that really highlighted the culture. And to me, this was detracting from it, even though it was a comedy and it was a satire. But back then, and even now, it's true, and it probably would become a cult classic if you went back and watched it, if you're a younger cat and it came out on or whatever, because of the simple fact that we have so many examples of tough guys on the mic that portray an image, and the real life, MC Gusto, shout out, rest in peace to Charlie Murphy, who was MC Gusto.
Yeah, no doubt.
Who kind of try to live that life and, wind up getting caught up. Like, they just had this young cat, I've never even heard of Shorty as a rapper. It was in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? Got robbed, sliced his face on it, took his chain. And, you see reactions online and people like, yeah, he ain't really about that life. And I kind of struggle with that now, and I struggled with it then, because honestly, and I say this on my podcast all the time, I never really looked at gangster rap as being real criminals, because I always questioned, well, why would you tell everybody what you did? Isn't that
right?
You know what I'm saying? So I always looked at it as none of them can really be gangsters, because you can't do both. You know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be rapping about it. But we live in a different time now where, that's almost the expectation. You don't even have to be nice on the mic. Your music don't even have to be good. If you get a reputation for just being real and having a hustle or whatever, cats will buy your records and call you the #1 rapper, and call your albums classic.
Whatever real mean. I don't know, whatever real mean, you know what I'm saying, which is, BS philosophy when you think about it, because again, like you said, now you have a situation where a lot of young kids get into hip hop, they feel like they have to live out this persona, and they either get themselves killed, get themselves locked up for life, or either locked up for a majority of their youth, just because you're trying to, make your rhymes and your persona into something real. When it's like, at the end of the day, music is entertainment. And, even way back with NWA, maybe they got into a little bit of trouble every now and then, but they were on tour. They were artists. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, a little scuffle here and there does not make one a gangster. And most real gangsters ended up either dead, in prison, or you faked it like you were one, and you still suffered that same fate. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate that whatever real mean has actually helped and hurt hip hop on so many levels and layers, man. But the movie did depict things that are issues in our community, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. So y'all should definitely check that out. Maybe you haven't seen it in a while, or maybe you've never seen it before. It's called CB4. It's starring Chris Rock. Charlie Murphy's in it as MC Gusto. Chris Rock is in it as MC Gusto. But look at the connections, you know what I'm saying? They do a lot of different things, a lot of satire to mostly the hip hop that was out back then, but it definitely relates to some of the things we see and hear today. So definitely worth a mention here on this show. But we're going to get into the topic at hand, what you came here for. And this is a special topic. I mean, we've done some dope stuff. This is special. You know why? Because I don't ever hear anybody talk about them. Like, I don't all you hip hop podcasts out there, we tend to talk about some of the same things, especially when it's old school, but nobody really shines a light on this and some of these names, at least the way they should be, except for us. So Tone, do the honors, let the people know what we're here to talk about.
You know what? When we spoke earlier about, different topics, and when this one came up, I actually got excited, man, because again, when you think of hip hop music, a lot of times we think of just a beat, you know what I'm saying, some bars, and that's it. But no. This time in hip hop, we are talking about hooks, man. When you think about a song, there's nothing better than a dope hook, man, to just link that song together. It draws the fans, it draws the crowd. You think about going to concerts, and when you want to get 20,000 people yelling, what are they generally yelling? The hook of a song. We go to a club and they go to the old school set or even new school sets right now. What happens? What get the crowd hyped when they dance and having a good time with the bottles in the air? The hook. You know what I'm saying? So what's more important than a hook? I mean, at the end of the day, song structures are important, beats are important, man. But how do a hook last for a lifetime? And we'll get into a couple of hooks and things later in the podcast. But man, I think about like early on for me, I remember when, rappers used to do their own little hooks, really. They would, Run DMC and Curtis Blow, these are the breaks, and stuff like that. But then around the mid 80s, man, when the Juice Crew started really popping off, this cat named TJ Swan started popping off with Biz Markie. And if you guys remember, Biz Markie had two of the biggest hits in the mid 80s that right now when they play in the club, people go crazy. Make the music with your mouth, Biz, and nobody beats the Biz or Still. If you listen to them right now, it sounds so hip hop, so 80s, so New York, East Coast. Biz is a very good entertainer on the mic. He can rap. Of course, Big Daddy Kane at the time was writing a lot of his rhymes, which is cool. So Biz is an entertainer. But TJ Swan, man, was hitting them hooks, man. And I think that during that time, hip hop actually changed because it went from, okay, we can get someone else to come in and do a little hook and add some extra flavor to the song until the experience. And that experience go out on tour, that experience go into the club. You know what I'm saying? So for me personally, TJ Swan is like the first person I remember personally, like, yo, I like that hook of that song. Yeah, Biz Markie dope. Who the dude? That's kind of fly. You know what I'm saying? So I remember that. I think he ushered. Now, of course, there are some heads that might have some people. Of course, it wasn't the first song the person sung the hook on, but it's the more memorable one. You know what I'm saying? As far as like those two tracks back to back, man. But that started to me the hip hop hook. You know what I'm saying? A specialist to a degree, where we're going to bring this person in to add some extra flavor to the song. And some of those people end up being stars. And we'll get into that, man. But what do you think? What was some of your first memories of like hearing a hook, an actual hook in a song, man?
I think like it's hard to like really remember like the first time, because I know like in New York City, around that time, especially like mid 80s, when like you had to stay up late to listen to like Mr. Magic or whoever, like late at night just to hear hip hop. It was so much mixing and scratching and new records and artists you never heard of. And, just seldomly did you find yourself either knowing everybody that was on or listening with somebody who knew everybody that was being played. So sometimes, I heard things and didn't know who was who. The only reason why I knew TJ Swan was because the Juice Crew made sure you knew he was a part of that crew. His name has been said on so many of their records, and he was in the videos, and he stood out. And it was the first time I was like, damn, so that's like an R&B cat with these rappers? You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was just something that we had never really noticed before. And you know, obviously there were other songs that had hooks back then that were catchy, you know, like Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5 and Africa Bambaataa, and a lot of them had hooks, but the way the songs were structured, it was, you know, it wasn't as blatant. It wasn't 16 bars hook, 16 bars hook. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it was like, you know, the name of the song and this hook is embedded within the verse somewhere, but it wasn't stationary. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I think the most memorable at that time was TJ Swan because of what you said. He wasn't Biz, but he was almost like one of the best parts of the song to hear him say nobody Biz, you know what I'm saying? And he never really went on to have like a solo career like that as a singer, but in hip hop, he's just remembered for doing those hooks for the Juice Crew. And before we even move on from him real quick, like I looked up some stuff because I was like, you know what? I don't think I've said TJ Swan's name in years. Where the hell is he now? And I was afraid because, you know, sometimes when you haven't heard from somebody, you find out they passed away.
Right.
Here to tell y'all, TJ Swan is alive as much as I know, as far as the internet says. And he has his own wine. And I don't know if we'll ever drink it, Tone. The wine costs $1.15.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. That's not gonna be no damn wine that I'm gonna drink. But shout out to TJ Swan. Anyway, look real quick too. Let me say this about TJ Swan. So I was watching shout out to Noriega and the Drink Champs, man. I love what he does and what he's done for the culture over the last few years. So he at one point he had Jim Jones on there, and they're talking about their favorite rappers, and Jim Jones talking about when him and Cam met Rakim before and just stuff like that. And you know, Nori was like, he was a big Biz Markie fan. And what's funny, he was singing "Nobody Beats the Biz," and he shouted out TJ Swan doing the Drink Champs. You know what I'm saying? Like this is about a year or so ago with Jim Jones on there. And I thought that was so dope because one good thing about timeless music, man, is no matter how small you might think someone's contribution is or what have you, people don't forget something that make a mark. And this is Nori, you know what I'm saying, talking about TJ Swan and Biz Markie, you know, 30 years after the song came out, you know. So that's just a testament to, you know, just the impact. Again, like I said, when you go to these old school shows or either these clubs and they have the old school set, I mean, when certain songs come on, man, you know, the hook is just one of the things that people gravitate to because 9 times out of 10, most people don't remember intricate lyrics like some of us hip hop nerds, but the casual fan can enjoy a hook, you know. And this leads me up to, I was thinking about all the best hooks and the people who have changed the culture with hooks, man, that we have to start, man. If you don't mind me saying, you know, rest in peace to Nate Dogg, who to me is the king of hip hop hooks, you know. And at one point, Nate was the king of West Coast hip hop hooks, but then, you know, the demand for his sound and his style reached the South and the East Coast, you know. So, you know, we'll get into some of his specifics, but Nate Dogg eventually was doing hooks for people like Jadakiss with Time's Up, you know what I'm saying, and MCs down south. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it started, don't get me wrong, I know he was with 213 with Snoop and Warren G. And of course, we'll talk about Warren G, you know, shortly as well. But, you know, he started with the Chronic. He didn't sing on it, but he was still around. And I think they was kind of grooming and seeing what he had, man. And as soon as there ain't no fun and all that came on Doggy Style, I think the G-Funk era was never the same once Nate Dogg put his stamp on it. You know. So,
when you think about like Nate Dogg's sound, even even with Death Row, he was like unique. I think it was genius to have like those MCs, Dr. Dre, and someone like Nate Dogg, and even Jewel, like to bring those people together. And like Nate Dogg, you couldn't really put him in a category because he didn't sound like he was an R&B singer singing on a rap record. He was kind of like in another lane with it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, was it gangsta R&B? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, you know what's funny? You know what I'm saying? Now that you said gangsta, you know, if you go back to anyone who doesn't understand the song Regulate with Warren G, Nate Dogg is singing some gangster rhymes, and the song Regulators is about Warren G getting robbed. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't understand. He's singing about riding around in his community. He saw some cats playing, playing dice and all this stuff. He went to show some love to the guys, and they stuck him up. You know what I'm saying? And Nate Dogg sang about coming to the rescue and pulling that thing out, getting them boys nice, and going to find some chicks at the end of the video. You know what I'm saying? So Nate Dogg sang about saving Warren G's life when he was getting jacked. That's what Regulators about, getting robbed. You know what I'm saying? So he made the song, and I think Regulator is the intro for me and the standard of G-Funk era for Warren G's Regulators album and just the whole movement. Nate Dogg is the singer for that movement, and Warren G was kind of the face and the sound of the movement. And if you take your boy Nate Dogg off Regulators, it's not the same song.
Oh, it's not. It is not. Like, it needs him on that.
It's record. A must. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was beginning, and I think when people heard that, even on the East Coast, and we on the East Coast, when I heard Regulators, I was like, man, but that hook is dope, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, man, that dude Nate Dogg is, man, I like that, man. So then you start noticing him on all of the West Coast songs before he started migrating over to the East with some artists. And you was looking forward to hearing him on tracks with the Dog Pound, tracks with, any kind of West Coast artists, E40s, all these guys. And he showed up every time.
Yeah, and I think that's the key right there, because I think, like, when I had this discussion with some other people about hooks or whatever, it was easy for them to just mention somebody who sang on a hook, but it was like, nah, but there's something about the consistency. It's something about you not wanting to skip the hook because it's, if not the best part, one of the best parts of the record. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think of, anything Nate Dogg has done, from, like you said, from Jadakiss to Till I Collapse with Eminem to working with Mos Def, like, you look at it, like working with Fabulous, you look at everything he's done, and he's more than just, like, put it this way, he's a feature more than just, because usually, you have people sing a hook or whatever, because Mobb Deep is synonymous with just having random chick sing and not even sing well.
And Wu-Tang was like that too.
Yeah, and Wu-Tang also. Wu-Tang would just have the old soul singer from around the way come on with the struggle singing. But with Nate Dogg, it was like, no, this is featuring Nate Dogg, even if he's singing a hook, because of what you said, man. He wasn't doing he didn't have the typical lyrics for his hooks. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ain't No Fun, Regulate, or just not the type of stuff Luther Vandross ain't singing that hook on your song. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? He made he made these songs, the songs that he was on. He was a feature, but he ended up being like the highlight of the song. And I'll just give you some examples, of course, like Ludacris, Area Codes. Everybody remember, I got hoes in this area. Cause people love that. You know what I'm saying? Or 21 Questions with 50 Cent, man, and Fabulous, I Can't Deny It. All of this stuff he was doing. And then on the West Coast side, he was on All Eyes on Me. I remember getting the song, I think it was Scandalous, and he was and Pop was like, Nate, play that, Nate, whatever. And then he hit that joint Scandalous, man, and then he had the joint
All About You, man. That was the anthem.
Oh my goodness, man. All About You was that every other city we go, You know,
Yeah.
I see it the
And
same.
this
You know,
one, next
oh
episode.
yeah, next episode, man. So I mean, he made the songs classic, man. I mean, and he just took it to another level, man. And I'm just looking at other songs, like you said, the Craig David 7 Days remix, man, Primo, man,
Mm.
and Oh No with Mos Def and Pharaoh, man, and just Snoop and Exhibit, Bitch Please, man.
Oh man.
Just so many more. Just looking at, man, just down. He did joints with Brian McKnight, man. You know what I'm saying? And like R&B singers, and his demand just went through the roof. And the joint, and like I say, it was still some. It was either some joints about chicks or some gangster stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like even the joints with Time Up with Jada, it's a gangster song about robbing and getting cats back.
Yeah.
If you look at the video, they had a funeral and all that, and Nate spitting gangster croons. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, man, he was very special, very unique, man, and it's unfortunate we can't hear more from him, but he did so much in his lifetime that Nate Dogg did hooks, but he's a legend in hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You say his name in hip hop, and it rings bell. He's a legend off his hooks.
Yeah, there's a lot of respect that come with Nate Dogg's name. Like, I mean, TJ Swan had his run, and he was one of the first to really do that, on hip hop records and have it be just as popular as the MC on the record. But Nate Dogg was on a whole nother level because, like we mentioned, this wasn't a dude that sounded like an R&B cat singing on a rap record. You know what I'm saying? This was a dude who was gangster in real life and singing about.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said it, because for any young hip hop fans who aren't really up on Nate Dogg, and maybe you'll go YouTube him after this episode and see him on some of these videos and singing hooks. Make no mistake about it. If you ask somebody about Nate Dogg during his lifetime, he was no sucker. So don't get the singing confused. He was actually, a go-getter, what I'm saying, for them dudes on the West Coast. So he wasn't just singing hooks. Now he was actually a real street dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
typically when you looked at a photo, the dudes who were the man, but the dangerous one in that photo on Death Row, the dude that's singing on the hooks. And it's kind of dope, like you said, when you think about, the career he had, even though he didn't get the solo career he wanted. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was getting paid nice to sing on these hooks because, like you said, he was in high demand because it was like they just all sound dope.
Yeah.
Because he was singing it was like he knew what to say, he knew the rhythm to take on a record. Like, again, like I remember when this Snoop album came out and Bitch Please was on there, and like that first Snoop No Limit record, I was just like, man, this is not even Snoop. This No Limits does not mesh with him. And I remember when I heard this record and Nate Dogg was on there, and I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And it wasn't just because Snoop was rapping over that type of beat and he had an Exhibit with him. He also had Nate Dogg there, and it was kind of like, this is what we're used to. But this is the other thing. Like, there's also been straight up singers who either got in hooks and had some of the same impact as a TJ Swan or Nate Dogg, and to become solo acts that were huge. Mary J. Blige.
Oh, yes.
Mary J. Blige started out singing for Father MC.
Yeah.
What You Do For Me, singing on that hook. But later on, he went to work with Method Man, The Lox, on Nas, like damn near everybody. And we're talking about not hip hop records that sound like R&B records, straight up hip hop.
And you know what? If we're gonna call Nate Dogg the king of these hooks, then absolutely Mary J will be considered the queen of these hooks, because You know, again, when Jay-Z did Cake Knock the Hustle, Mary J. Blige killed Cake Knock the Hustle. Mary J. Blige did that I Love You remix with Smith and Wesson that everyone still remembers to this day that I shine, you shine. You know, 20 some years later, it still sounds flawless. You know what I'm saying? Then, you know, Mary J. Blige with You're All I Need with Method Man. You know, All I Got Is You with Ghostface. You know what I'm saying? Like Runaway Love with Ludacris. You know, so yeah, and Beautiful with Black Star. I mean, she has a long list. No female has the culture in such a grasp like Mary J did when she sing on hooks, even all the way down to when Game had on like the documentary. You know what I mean? Everybody wanted a piece of, you know, Jay-Z said on Volume 2, I did songs with Mary J. Blige, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Mary J. Blige is the queen of, you know, she took these songs to another level. If I remember her touring with Jay-Z when she was singing King Knock the Hustle, all the women in the whole arena was singing her lines. You know what I'm saying? And whenever she performed and did her hooks for whatever MC she did the song with, the crowd gravitated to Mary J. Blige's hooks, and the females she had that connection with, they sing her hooks. You know what I'm saying? Same way dudes sing Nate Dogg joints.
Yeah, I think that the one of the things that when you look at Mary's situation and Nate Dogg's situation of singing on these straight up rap records, is there's a certain level of respect hip hop fans had for them, even during a time where hip hop was kind of trying to shun R&B because they didn't want, because you know, like all the award shows were labeling hip hop R&B, and you know, some of the more successful leaned heavier on R&B collaborations. But here you had hip hop fans, artists, but singing hooks because they kept the records hip hop and they fit perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like Mary J. Blige's soulful sound on you know, over these tracks, especially like a song like with Ghostface, All I Got Is You, just fit really well with the lyrics, with the tone. And you know, it's the reason why they call her the queen of hip hop soul. It wasn't just her music, it was also the things she was featured on. And there's so many others that we can name. I got a couple, Tone, if I could throw some out there. Most who in some cases got they start doing a lot of dope hooks and then eventually put out albums, like Carl Thomas did a couple of hooks for people back in the late 90s before he actually had his debut. Not just Bad Boy, did some stuff with Nori and stuff like that. Ashanti was doing a lot of hooks before she actually put an album out. You know what I'm saying?
Dope hooks.
Who else? Yeah, dope hooks at that. You also had his name that we shall not say, but we're going to say R. Kelly did a couple of dope hooks with rappers when he would collaborate.
He had his moment.
Yeah, he knew what to do. That he worked with Big, with Nas, with Jay-Z, with Cassidy, and the list goes on. You know,
you know what else was dope too, man?
Dope records. What'd you say?
Tell you what else was dope too, man. Akon at one point, man. I remember when he had that Locked Up with Styles P, man. He had that Soul Survival.
Yeah,
you know, he had a whole. He had a moment, man. Akon had a moment, man, where his voice fit with the struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt authentic when he was on certain tracks, man. So yeah, Akon had a nice little run of dope hooks, and you know, he had a dope album. His debut album was very dope, but yeah, he cemented himself as far as like with them hooks too.
About like somebody like Akon and more recent times, you think like, you know, okay, yeah, we could say it started with TJ Swan and Nate Dogg perfected it, you know, and there were people in between, but somebody like Akon is definitely an example of someone who did that a lot and churned out a bunch of dope records. But also, like, she's done of records with straight up hip hop cats, from The Game to Nas to like literally everybody. I almost think that's kind of how she got a solo deal. But besides the fact that she could actually sing and she was with Floetry. But
Yeah.
there seemed like a point where she was on every hip hop album, singing the hook on no matter what type of beat it was. Always, when I looked at her grind around that time, I was like, damn, this is like a throwback to the way they used to do R&B cats, you know, when they used to just throw them on a hook as a way to introduce you to them and then drop an album. But there's so many, you know.
Yeah, man, and
Pharrell
also absolutely, man. Think about, you know, Pharrell with Beautiful with Snoop, and Pharrell would Give It to Me, and you know,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff. So yeah, he had a and we didn't say Chrisette Michele, did we?
Nah.
You know, they Can't Forget About You with Nas, then she that Lost One with Jay-Z, and then Let Me Live with Game on his joint, man. And she had a moment where she was dropping some dope hooks, man. But that Can't Forget About You on that Nas Hip Hop Is Dead with Vintage, man. It sounded like some Motown, man. It had a real dope feel to it, man. So yeah, there was a couple of people, man. Let me take a little spin and say this too. Another really dope cat with hooks, man, is actual MC, man, was actually Ja Rule. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people are like, oh, Ja Rule, yeah, man, Ja Rule was hot at one moment, and people talk about this 50 Cent battle, and you know, of course, Ja Rule was up against 50 Cent and Double XL and Aftermath and Shady and Eminem and Dr. Dre and everybody. So there was a loss for him as far as like that. But 50 Cent ended up kind of taking that style of hooks and doing his own, singing his own little hooks after dissing Ja Rule for the same thing. You know, and Ja Rule was doing duets with Ashanti and also doing, you know, joints with J-Lo, you know, and joints with Lil Mo, you know what I'm saying, and all of this stuff like that. He had joints, man, where he was actually singing some of his hooks too. You know what I'm saying? If anyone Google Ja Rule and check out some of his tracks, you'd be like, man, that was a dope track in the club back in 2003, 2002.
Yeah,
you know what
a lot of people let the 50 Cent and Ja Rule beef situation like cloud their memory of Ja Rule being hot for a minute.
Scorching hot, you know, always on time, mesmerized. I cry with Lil Mo. I mean, dude had the radio on lock before 50 Cent started doing the same thing with 21 Questions and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Ja was already doing that.
Yeah, and look, you can even take it as far back as Buckshot when he decided to change his style and do the sing-songy style and kind of like somewhat sing his hook. I know some people who didn't like that at all because there was, I guess the other thing for this podcast is at one hip hop, like, and I mentioned it a little bit, but rappers were just dictating to us that we just did not want R&B in our music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as you can see, by it's kind of been there. You know what I'm saying? In some ways, but I think we just wanted a particular sound and it to go down a certain way.
And let's say this too.
Yeah, we didn't want the singing. I mean, we wanted the singing from certain artists, but we didn't want the track to be soft. So, lyrics.
Yeah. So let me ride your coattail on that and say this. When we say, you know, a lot of hip hop purists, you know, try to stay away from the R&B sounds. They want to have their album sound a certain kind of way. But now, you know, the record labels want sales as well. So there was a lot of times where maybe artists didn't necessarily want to have a certain, you know, R&B or a certain singer, you know, on their track, but the record label like, look, we need a single, man. You know, we need some on the radio, we need some on the club, we got to get you on the road touring. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm sure some of those marriages were kind of forced, but, you know, the ones that worked really worked. You know, of course, there's probably been some songs that, you know, we've overlooked and they had a hook and all that, and, you know, it just didn't pop off, you know, but record labels, you know, saw where, you know, let's say this particular artist is hot. You know, Usher is hot, and we can get him to sing a hook. You know what I mean? First, we're going to pay Usher and his label a lot of money just to get him featured on here, but it might be worth it in the long run to get, you know, Usher or to get, you know, Ashanti at some point, or J-Lo, and, you know, and then other, you know, Mary J. Blige, of course, probably came with a pretty big cost, but, you know, she was going to have your song popping. You know what I'm saying? But record labels had to make sure they ingratiated some songs because they can't just put somebody spitting rhyme. You can't put cannons on the radio. You know what I'm saying? We gotta, we gotta get some. We gotta blend. And even with Ghostface when he did Iron Man, yeah, Mary J did all I got is you, and they made a single and did a video for it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's just an example of maybe Ghost didn't even, Ghost soulful though, so maybe he was looking forward to that collab. But let's just say he wasn't. They still was like, hey man, we trying to sell your record, man. You know what I'm saying? So, labels got to do what they got to do.
And a lot of it worked both ways also, because there was also a time where some of the rappers were trying to get hot by being featured on R&B records and doing verse. So you had the Jay-Z's and you had the Biggies and you had the Ghost and Ray on the Jodeci Freaking You remix. So it was kind of like working both ways a lot of times when they would do that. But like you said, some of those relationships were forced, but wound up churning out some dope records. And then there was some that just worked because of the sound, because the sound was already there, like having like Sleep singing on Outkast records. You know what I'm saying? It was like felt natural, felt like it was supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? We know he's a part of Organized Noise,
right? But
at the same time, I don't think anybody flinched when the first time they heard him singing on there, because Outkast's music to his style of singing kind of opened the door for that to be there anyway. And it was kind of there all the time anyway. You know what I'm saying? It was just, it didn't have a spotlight shined on it like, when we look at certain collaborations, like some of Faith Evans collaborations worked for me, and then some just felt like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are they together on this track? Like her and DMX worked for me. Her on the Out remix with Tropical Quest didn't really work for me. But you know what I'm saying? Who knows? It just didn't feel like it was together.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, because actually I know we was on Apartment 5B with Kill. Shout out to Kill when we was talking about the beats, rhymes, of life, and I actually thought Stretched Out worked with Faith and Like Yourself, but that's cool. So, but what's funny, like going back to one of your comments earlier, how hooks and stuff help elevate certain artists to become solo artists that had albums and stuff. I mean, you look at some of the stuff like Maya and Christine Milian and Lil Mo, and some of those individuals, even Case with that Touch Me Tease. I know that was R&B joint, but it was still R&B hip hop. Some of these individuals, their hooks and features and stuff end up getting them deals, and popping their careers off. I mean, Maya had that Best of Me, a version with Jay-Z and Jadakiss. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it had her on BET popping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, it really elevated some people and made some careers. Even now, you still have people in the newer generation where Drake started doing hooks. You know what I'm saying? I'm on one, and blessings and all this stuff. So Drake doing hooks, and Migos doing hooks, and some of these other newer artists, Future doing hooks. So they kept going with the hooks, which it makes sense, because again, that's how you get, a lot of crowd participation with a nice catchy hook with a catchy beat. So I mean, I ain't knocking none of these guys in the new generation, because we had hella people in the 90s doing hooks.
Yeah, and plus people got to remember, man, you take hip hop out of it, you go back to some of those soul records from the 60s and the early 70s and mid 70s or whatever. And some of those records were all hook. You know what I'm saying? Like them verses were short. The song would be like 2 seconds and it would be mostly hook. Because like Tom mentioned earlier, for most people, they're just looking for what's catchy about the record. The beat, the way somebody's singing, and what's the name of it, and the hook that goes along with it. Whereas there are some of us, because, music evolved in a lot of ways, who look at, songs a little deeper, and we get into the lyrics and the concept and who produced this and who's on the hook and how it was mastered in a whatever way. And I think, when it comes to the hooks, I mean, it's the reason why sometimes we critique hooks when we say, because if it didn't matter, it wouldn't matter. But there's times where, like I've always said, you know, I think the Lox worst thing about them as a group is sometimes they have some of the worst hooks, and it shouldn't matter. But when you look at the history of hooks and what's possible for some great hooks, whether you rapping them or singing them, you know, we look at them like, yo, man, I love that record. The beat is fire, but damn, that hook is trash. You know what I'm saying? So the hook is very important, ladies and gentlemen. There's a number of artists, whether they're singers or whatever, who done it throughout the years, based their careers off of it, or launched their careers off the strength of doing a number of hooks, or been comedians turned actors turned singers, and now you got Jamie Foxx singing on a bunch of hooks. Like, it's sometimes it just works that way, where maybe that person coming in and doing that is better. Or, like, for example, just to leave this in there as well, you know, Swiss Beats sells his beats with hooks already in them. Like, as an MC, that can be golden. I know a lot of people who don't like beats, but imagine not having to worry about making a hook. You like the beat, and there's already a hook there that's kind of dope. But shout out to TJ Swan, rest in peace to Nate Dogg, all the hook singers and rappers in the game. Leave your comments in the comment section below. What you think about hooks in hip hop? Is it important? What do you think about singers singing hooks? Does it even matter today? You know, do people care as much? Are the lines between R&B and hip hop so blurred you can't even say they're singing on a hip hop track? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about just the whole hook situation in hip hop. But now we get to the part of the show where we recommend to you a record you should go back and listen to. And let me make sure I get mine right as far as the year, because I couldn't remember. But my recommendation for this week is Wu-Tang Clan's Chamber Music. It came out in 2009. It wasn't a part of the official line of Wu-Tang Clan albums, yet and still, it's basically an album. And around this time, I know I was completely frustrated with Wu-Tang Clan as a group, because they was putting out these really whack albums, and I just felt like it was over. But these side albums were really dope, usually composed of throwaway records and verses and put together with features of other artists. And this is a really dope one. Tell y'all some of the features on here. AZ's on here, Cormega, Sean Price, Havoc, Mobb Deep, Kool G Raps on here, X, 17 tracks. Raekwon's on here, Method Man, Inspector Deck, RZA, Jizza. The whole Wu is on here. The beats are those traditional Wu-Tang sounding beats, you know what I'm saying, that you remember from 36 Chambers and all of that. And you don't get the whole kung fu skits, but you do the RZA giving like philosophy, and it reminds you of Kung Fu Flicks. And I like, if you love Wu-Tang Clan, you probably already know about this. But if you don't, and maybe you long for those days of 36 Chambers where it was just that unique sound, and you don't mind some other rappers coming in there, which was a list of some very dope rappers who give some dope performances, including Cormega for some of you haters. It's a very dope album. It's Wu-Tang Clan Chamber Music. It came out in 2009. I definitely recommend it. Tone, what's your recommendation for this week? And have you heard Chamber Music? And you know, what's your thoughts on that if you have?
Okay, yeah. So I heard Chamber Music. It was solid. I didn't love it, but I thought it was pretty good. And again, like you said, Wu-Tang went through a moment where some of the projects they released, I just didn't like them. You know, and I like Wu-Tang. You know, so I like Wu-Tang a lot, actually. You know, but Chamber Music was good. Yeah, very good features. Production was good. I ain't mad at it, man. I give 3.5 out of 5, man. Dope effort from Wu-Tang and their affiliates and things of that nature. So yeah, but my recommendation this week, 1990 Tribe Called Quest debut album. So for anyone who loved Tribe, a lot of people started with Tribe with the Low End Theory and Check the Rhyme. You know, and I can talk to a lot of younger fans who I had to direct them back to People Instinctive Travels in the Paths of Rhythm. That's their first album, and that is the album where I Left My Wallet in El Segundo, Bonita Apple Bomb, which is the song that made me fall in love with Tribe, Can I Kick It? You know, it was a very conscious album. You know, we was looking forward to it, you know, people of our age, because we had heard Q-Tip on Jungle Brothers, Black is Black. You know, so we were like, okay, and then you heard Bonita, and then they came out with the Bonita, the Hootie remix with that, the Ozzy Brothers sample was just incredible, you know, and then Left My Wallet, El Segundo, you see the video. And for any Sanford and Son fans, you know, it was like El Segundo, you know what I'm saying? Red Fox on Sanford and Son, I always talked about going to El Segundo, you know what I'm saying? So that was always nice comic relief. And, you know, Can I Kick It? Like I said, one of my top 5 favorite Tribe Called Quest songs is on there. There's a track called Footprints. So for any Tribe fan who aren't familiar with the first album, YouTube Footprints and come back and talk to me, man. It's a dope album, man. Definition of a Fool is a dope way to end the album. I'm gonna look at the track list just real quick. It's been years. You know, they have a song called Youthful Expression and Rhythm devoted to the art of moving butts. I think you guys will really like that song, man. And yeah, man, just a dope album, man. And Joint Ham and Eggs and Go Ahead and the Rain. Yeah, man, Tribe was really, you know, they were starting to, you know, that's their beginning. So, of course, they perfected their style on the Low End Theory and then went out of this world on the Midnight Marauders. But to hear some of the genius in the Q-Tip's production on this debut, man, is just incredible, man. 1990, man, Tribe's debut. A very good album, man. Source Magazine actually gave it 5 mics, just for perspective.
And that's crazy because, like, I knew of Tribe on El Segundo because I like that song and I like Can I Kick It, and I definitely like Bonita Apple Bomb. But I remember the first time I heard the entire album, I hadn't heard the entire album around the time. I really only heard those singles, and Low End Theory was like the first time I heard an album. And I think with that debut, it was difficult for me to go back because Low End Theory had kind of set the tone of the album. So when you go to their debut, you like, well, damn, where's Phife? You know what I'm saying? Right. If you listen to them later albums and you go back to that first album, you don't realize how much is mostly Q-Tip rapping. And the sound is somewhat similar. So, but I did go back recently, and yeah, man, like Tribe had a run, and it was like this the entire time. You know what I'm saying? Each album got better, and more solid than the last one. So that's definitely worth your time. Go check out both of those albums. You know what I'm saying? We want one disclaimer for the recommendations, right? Because I've had people who think the recommendations are really only about us giving you classics, and that's not exactly what we're doing here. We're thinking about albums and mixtapes, but mostly albums where you don't typically hear people talk about them or post about them, and it's still good. And we recommend you skip over the paid in fulls and the Low End Theories and the Illmatics and all the albums we mention and name drop every day to appreciate some of the stuff that did happen in between that was just as dope, if not better in some cases. So when you hear this on all these shows, you know, just keep in mind that's exactly what we're doing. We appreciating the other music because we appreciate it all. That's going to do it for us for this week, man. Make sure you visit intothedome.com. Check out some of the articles Tone has there. You know, it's some hip hop stuff, it's some soul stuff, it's a lot of perspectives related to the artist and lifestyle and maybe your lifestyle. A lot of relatable stuff there and good joints to read. Also, check out my podcast, Hip Hop Now Podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be iTunes or iHeartRadio or something else. But until next time, y'all, man, we're gonna have some joints for y'all as always. Go out and support hip hop. All right, peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.